The Miami Heat are the last team that we want to talk about here. The Heat are in a strange position. It feels like they are 4-7. They have played like a fairly average schedule. Like they should not be 4-7. This just feels like a slog. Every time that I watch them, everything they do feels hard. Does it feel that way? Like everything offensively that they do, it just feels very difficult.
That's my biggest note, is talking about their offense right now.
Yeah.
I think what's been really tough for me with this offense, not that, I don't know, not that saying Jimmy Butler has hit different this year feels like the wrong way to put it. Like, he's still been very good. I don't think Kyle looked almost washed in that first game. And then I honestly think he's been pretty fine since then. Again, like, not exactly like perfect for paying your max money. But the thing for me has been more with, and I'm not trying to put all this on Tyler Hero, but that's where I think I've felt the most like confusion is the wrong way to put it. But like, Tyler's blend of scoring and playmaking right now is not where I think it needs to be. Like, it's very, like, I think he's taken a little bit of a step back as a playmaker this year, frankly, because of how much he's been looking for a shot. And he's been very good from the field, to be fair to him. But also, like, it just doesn't feel like it impacts defenses a lot, the way that he's playing right now. Like, the pull-ups and the off-ball stuff are really good, but it's the on-ball things where his pickup points are really early. It's often a pull-up. It's rarely getting to the rim. Their offense in entirety, they don't get to the rim very much.
That's exactly. I don't even know that it's like get to the rim.
Getting into the paint.
Don't even get to the paint. Yeah, like it feels like a difficult task.
They're 25th right now in rim frequency, which feels right. Yeah, they're just so, especially too considering how small they play. It just makes it a really difficult ask for them, because they're not going to beat teams on the offensive glass often. They get bullied on the defensive glass often. It's a really weird blend right now. Like, I'm kidding. They're 7th in defensive rebounding percentage, but like against the Kings, that was a problem. Like, Domantas Sabonis absolutely ate them on the offensive glass. I think that's going to be a problem against teams that have bigger front courts, and more importantly, just have more talented dynamic stars, which is going to be a problem in the East, especially against the playoff teams. I just think, like, sorry, go ahead.
To your point on, they don't get a lot of shots at the rim, right? So they're 25th in rim frequency right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're also only getting 9.4 wide open 3-point attempts per game. And that, to me, again, says that they're just not getting to the paint, because the best way to get wide open threes is to collapse the defense and then kick out, right? Yeah. So they're just not, they're having a more difficult time, it feels like to me, than any other team in the league, it generating open opportunities and generating high leverage shots, which I think is kind of an indictment on Kyle Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of what Kyle is creating is like these, I'm going to take a step inside the 3-point line and then step back and try and get a three, right? Like that's more what he seems to be creating for his own offense. And he's making them. Like, it's a credit to him right now. Jimmy Butler is putting his feet in the paint regularly, but then you look at like this team in terms of their 3-point shooters, they take a lot of threes, but like a lot of them are contested 3-pointers from Kyle, from Tyler. And then the other ones are like threes from guys that teams don't really give a shit if they shoot them. Like Gabe Vincent, people don't really care if Gabe Vincent's going to take a three. Caleb Martin, people do not care if Caleb Martin is going to take a three. Max Strus and Duncan Robinson, people care if they take threes. Tyler Hero, people care if he takes the three, but he's taking them off of pull-ups, and so he's not really generating open threes. Like, I would bet half of their open threes per game are probably Max Strus threes. And then everyone else is generating like 0 open threes or 3 open threes per game or something. And that's just hard. And that leads to teams just collapsing the paint against them. And it just becomes way too fucking difficult to move anywhere when they're on offense.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I do want to hit on too, like Max Strus has been awesome. Like I'm at the point where
Great.
I want to see him start over Caleb Martin just because like based on like what they need from their offense, like he's such a good shooter, man. Like that,
Yep.
not the that, like and he's good at. I mean, he can attack closeouts. He moves the ball, like does really good things. But then again, it's like okay, well, not that he's a bad defender, but there's a defensive trade off for sure. But I think one of the other problems has been with Tyler playing in the starting lineup. Now their bench just does not hit the same, like even remotely.
Yeah.
And that's been a big problem for them because they really thrived on bench points at times last year, and it just I don't it's not awesome. Like I think for me, just because I don't think Kyle is going to these 36, I don't think that change is going to happen. For me, I think it's got to come from Tyler growing as a playmaker, and I think it's possible. Like I want to see his playmaking, not of course playmaking, like pacing inside the arc. Like even if you're not taking shots at the rim, like okay, can you get more into the paint, snake into the paint, just do some things running baseline, at least dragging the defense and trying to find more pockets that aren't necessarily scoring. And I know he's wired as a scorer, so that's asking a lot, and it takes time for that stuff to happen. But to me, like I think at least in terms of internal roster stuff, I feel like that's the only thing I can really pinpoint is like really, really improving.
Like Vic could maybe come back and like give them a little bit more athleticism, touch the paint a little bit more often, and maybe create that way. Because the thing is, they have a lot of unselfish guys. Once they do touch the paint, I think they are pretty good at like moving
they're very
it around.
good at spraying out. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think they do a good job of then just like keeping it right along the chain on the perimeter and finding the open guy. But it's just hard. Everything they do right now is hard because they struggle to get that initial paint touch. Yeah. And, you know, like opponents are shooting 27 or the fourth best effective field goal mark against them this year. So like the defense has not even been like what it typically is for Miami. Like this Miami team needs to be a top 10 defense at the end of the day to make it work. They're 14th right now, and that's in large part because teams are shooting 70.5% at the basket against them.
Yeah.
Like that is hard. They're a good transition defense team, but like once teams get to the paint or like find that big on the block or like find that big in roll situations, they just don't like Bam is great, but Bam is not like the best rim protector in the league.
And he's switched out so often too. Like I think that's been my bigger frustration with them. Like and again, I think it's stuff that they cleaned up in the playoffs for sure, but it's like, okay, well, right now with your offense struggling the way it is, like the defense has got to be tighter and not allowing some of the soft switches that they do. It becomes even harder with the soft switches out with Bam getting away from the basket when you lose PJ Tucker, who can at least like rotate over and not be the world's biggest impediment, but be something. Yeah, just
like
be there.
Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, like those are the guys that are rotating over now. And Max Strus, it just hits a little bit different.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like they're one of the teams that I've thought for a while about. Like I know they've talked about like, oh, you know, calling Bam they're like a 4 instead of a center. Like he still is the center for them. I think to me, I don't know. It's tough because like adding a true center to this, or not even just saying true center, but like let's say, and I don't kill me Heat fans, like if this team added Miles Turner, like that does stuff for their offense that I don't envision being awesome. Like I don't think Miles is the kind of player who necessarily fits in the offense that they run. Like, but in terms of like what it brings defensively, like I do think that there's stuff interesting there. Like actually letting Bam be more of like that weak side roamer, getting to do a lot more mucking things off the ball. They would play more traditionally, to be sure. Like you're not gonna, if you get Miles Turner and play a switch all defense, that's stupid. But like I don't know, because to me I feel like they almost need to lean into being such a good defensive team. But
the offense would run almost more like you see Memphis's the way they use Steven Adams, except with Turner spacing from 3, as opposed to like Adams going into the dunker spot and trying to get offensive rebounds. And then defensively, you would switch everything 1 through 4, and then, you know, just kind of let Turner sit back and drop. Right.
Yeah, or even like
I'm
he, I
trying.
mean, he's good playing close to the level, stuff like that too. Like it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I think into like I think it could do things, and again too, like just having more size, like I think could benefit them in some ways because Miles has been really good at asserting himself this year. Like this is not me trying to just make it a Miles Turner pod, but um, I mean he's making the Brooklyn game looked really bad, but after that, it's considering what the rest of the trade market looks like, it's interesting.
You know who the guy that would be interesting for them is? It would
Who?
be a return.
A return. Uh
We talked about him earlier,
we shit. Who?
Kelly Olynyk.
Ooh, yes. Okay, that's somebody else I thought about too. I would love Kelly Olynyk back on this team.
That would
That's
actually make a lot of sense for them as a target.
especially offensively too. Yeah, I'd be totally in on that. And he's capable of doing the right things scheme wise on defense and being big. And I think that counts for more than what they're getting in the on the back line right now. So yeah, I would be so in on that for Miami.
Yeah, like the problem is they can't really move picks. I don't know how they would get Kelly done, but like that's what you do. I think like that's who you that would be a guy that I think would not cost a lot that would be very beneficial for them.
Yeah. No, I agree totally.
So okay, we've talked about basketball for an hour and a half. The Miami Heat, real or fake? Let's end this. Is their start real or not?
I think fake just because I believe in Spo and Jimmy and Bam. And I think that this team is better than 4-7, but it's also not fully fake. Like this just has been bad basketball from them.
I think that they're closer to the 500 mark than they are. Um, their win total over under was probably like 47 and a half, something like
Yeah.
that. I think they're more like 41 and 41 as opposed to like 48 and 34. So, I mean, I guess that's real to an extent,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But not 4-7. I don't think.